Being a perfect planner is the very thing keeping you from achieving your goals. And I'm going to tell you why and what you can do about it. Before we can tell you what to do if you're a perfect planner, we got to figure out if you are a perfect planner. Am I a perfect planner? I'm going to list off a few symptoms that I think perfect planners have, and we're going to see how many of them you fit the bill for. Number one, you're constantly looking for the best way. This could mean you're looking for the best course, best book, the best workout plan, best study plan. If you're always on the hunt for the best way to do something, then you are probably a perfect planner. Here is the second telltale sign that you are a perfect planner. You spend a lot of time planning and you spend very little time doing. This is actually the best indication that you're a perfect planner. If you spend most of your time here and very little time here, then you are a perfect planner. You're the kind of person who spends a lot of effort trying to figure out the right way to do something, but you spend almost no effort, no time in actually doing the thing. The best way to make progress is to do something as imperfectly as you can. Use the feedback from your actions to iterate and create a new plan, and then keep doing stuff. It's really easy to fall into perfect planning. It's a trap, and you fall into it for a very good reason. For the same reason I fell into it. Why do people try to find the perfect plan or the best way to do something? You are under the impression that you can guarantee success. You are so afraid of failure. You want to find out all the different ways you could possibly fail at doing something, all the wrong alleys you could turn into before you even start, so you can make sure that you do succeed. I'm going to explain in a little while why this is a fool's errand. If we believe that this is our start line, and this is a goal that we want to end up in, if we observe how most people have gotten from the start to the end, we would find out that the path kind of looks like this. There's a lot of wrong turns you might make. There's a lot of pits and falls. Sometimes you go backwards and eventually you end up at your destination. Hopefully your path isn't quite as loopy as this. But we believe that if we were to plan enough, then we can find a way to go directly from the start to the end without any hiccups. Essentially, you're trying to find a shortcut. You're trying to circumvent all the failures that inevitably result when trying to pursue something meaningful. You're trying to make sure that you don't have to face all the difficulties that one normally has to face to achieve the outcome you're trying to achieve. And you believe that there is a shortcut, and if you plan enough, you will be able to find it. The last reason that people fall into the perfect planning trap, it promises us exceptional results. If you want to join the gym, you don't just want to start and lift weights and eat some protein. No, you want to find the absolute best workout plan. Why? Because you don't want to do what the other guys did. You don't want to have to work out for 2 or 3 years before you see real results. You want to see results in 6 months. So your way of doing that is to find the best workout plan, the best diet, the best nutrient timing. And for those of you who have been perfect planners for a long time, you know that you don't really get exceptional results most of the time. You actually get mediocre results most of the time. Now, I'm going to offer you my opinion about why perfect planning isn't going to get you any of this and what you should do instead. Why perfect planning fails. Number one, failure to predict the goals and solution. I'm going to try to give you a visual representation of this idea. We have a mountain, and this is you sitting down trying to figure out how you can climb the mountain as efficiently as possible. You figure out the optimal route. You try to predict what's going to go wrong, what's going to go right, what is the shortcut, and find your way to the destination as quickly as you can. Here is where things go wrong. Once you've made this perfect plan and actually tried to do this, what you're going to notice, here you've started, and here there's a bear waiting for you, ready to eat you up. So you need to avoid the bear. You go around to the other side, and now there's a massive snake trying to bite your head off. You go back the way you came, and then here you come, and then you can't climb any further because the terrain is just so loose that there's absolutely no way you can climb this. You finally find your way to where you were trying to go. Notice the path you predicted is not the path that ultimately takes you to where you want to go. Fact is, you cannot predict all the different ways in which things can go wrong. You can't predict all the selective factors that will get into the way of you trying to achieve your goals. You can't predict all the wrong turns. Life is too complicated. The world is too complicated. Society is too complicated for you to predict exactly what you need to do. If you can, then it was probably a pretty simple thing that you were trying to achieve. But that's not what most of us are trying to do. Most of us are trying to achieve something that takes a great deal of effort over an extended period of time. None of you can predict the future, unfortunately. Reason number 2 why perfect plans fail is failure to predict emotions. I remember I was watching some videos on YouTube and really beautiful paintings would come up and I got really inspired. So I thought, hey, let me pick up painting as a perfect planner. I looked up the best course. I bought that course. Then in the course, they advised about the perfect supplies, the perfect paint, the best approach. I figured out I also probably needed to pick up drawing first to develop the skills and how to see and learn how to shade with the pencil. I planned an incredible plan for learning how to paint and become an extraordinary painter in the fastest period of time possible. I didn't paint. The first time I sat down to paint, I thought, I didn't really like this. I'm not enjoying this. And then I never did it again. Now all those expensive painting supplies sit in my closet waiting for me to be inspired once again. We can't predict how we will feel about something that we've never done before. How often have you looked at a dish and it looks so beautiful and it looks so tasty, you bite into it and it's horrible. The chicken's undercooked, there's too much salt, and you don't know why on earth they put anchovies in this dish. I can think of many times in my life where I've met someone and at the time the moment seems unremarkable. But then that person is still my friend 10 years later, and we have this extraordinary bond, and I couldn't predict the level of connection that we would build. The fact is, it's very difficult to predict how you will feel about something or someone many years into the future. It is next to impossible. Third is failure to prioritize. I'm sure people who make their way here, they're well aware of the 80-20 principle. And in simple terms, that means 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort, and 20% of your results come from 80% of your effort. Let's pretend for a moment that you want to get really fit and healthy. And so, as a perfect planner, you start looking into diet and working out, and you realize, hey, I need to sleep, I need to work out and lift heavy weights, and I need to eat enough protein and calories. That is the bulk of what you need to do, and that is where most of your results come. But you as a perfect planner, that isn't enough. Now you're looking into cold plunges, heat therapy, exotic supplements, you're thinking about the keto diet, nutrient timing, macronutrient levels, perfect workout routine, perfect number of days. This perfect planning keeps you from acting on the things that are actually vital to your success and keeps you planning and obsessing over things that contribute so very insignificantly to the result that you're trying to achieve. And the last thing I want to talk about is, suppose you have come up with your grand plan of achieving something. When you look at it, this is your grand plan of achieving outcome X, whatever it is. Now you have this intricate 10-year plan of exactly what you need to do. And guess what? There's a lot. There is so much you need to think about. There is so much work ahead. You cannot possibly look at a decade's worth of work and think, wow, let's start with step 1. Most of the time, what will happen is you will be paralyzed by the sheer extent and magnitude of everything that you have to do. And as a perfect planner, it's not enough to achieve the goals. Generally, you want to be exceptional. There is so much detail. There is enormous number of tasks that you need to do, an almost endless amount of work that needs to be done, and you have to look at it before you start the very first step. And that is paralyzing. By now, you might have spotted the root of the issue, and I call it failure to predict. You wouldn't be so wrong to say that perfect planners are aspiring prophets. They want so desperately to look into the future and know exactly what's going to happen, so they can either prepare for it, avoid it, or find a better route. But guess what? Perfect planners are human too. Unfortunately, they aren't prophets. They can't predict the entire future. They can't predict everything that could go wrong. They can't avoid every single failure, risk, uncertainty. It is unavoidable. But these prophets and perfect planners, they spend an endless amount of time and effort trying to predict the future so that they can avoid it all. And they just can't. If we pretend for a moment that your life is like a book, unfortunately, you can't read ahead so you can prepare for it or avoid it. It is impossible. What you have to do is live one day at a time and make the best of every single day. That is the way you can actually achieve your goal. I think a much more useful way of thinking instead of the prophet is to think of yourself as an adventurer. An adventurer cannot avoid risk, things going wrong, sadness, failure, disaster. What they do is they make the best decision this moment allows and then make sure that whatever happens, they make that work. An adventurer accepts that there is uncertainty and risks to venturing out and actually trying to do something meaningful. An adventurer chooses a direction to walk this way. They don't know if what waits for them is a goblin or gold. You have to figure out a way to steady yourself, to resolve yourself, that whatever happens, you make the best of it. Because you know that risk and uncertainty is unavoidable. Chance plays an enormous role in the outcome of our life, and instead of avoiding it, we should learn how to make the best of it. Now that we've given up our ambitions of trying to be a prophet and predicting the future, let us be adventurous. Pick a direction, walk, and make the best of it. This channel is called Systems for Taking Action, and it's about taking these abstract ideas and actually turning them into day-to-day actions, making meaningful progress in your life. It's not about philosophy for the sake of philosophy, it's philosophy for the sake of acting and changing something in our lives. The cure? I'm going to call practical planning. The point of practical planning is to actually do stuff and learn from what you do and the results of your actions, and then create a new plan to do stuff. Rather than trying to predict the optimal path from the outset, you walk and use the cues around you to navigate to the destination you're trying to get to. And in a practical sense, I think there are 3 steps that you should follow. First, you need to set a goal. From there, you need to act. Once you've acted, you need to reflect. You set a goal, you act, you reflect on what happened, and then you set a goal. It would be really helpful if you tried to set a goal that either gave you insight or impact. What is a short-term, action-oriented goal that I can take that either gives me insight or impact? Insight is pretty self-explanatory. It tells you something about what you want, what you're capable of. It tells you whether this particular direction is a good direction to head in. Impact is a short-term goal that helps you make significant progress towards whatever long-term goal you're working towards. Let's say you want to find a sport that you enjoy and can do regularly. Instead of trying to think of the best sport, what might be useful is to gain some insight. Say, okay, let me try tennis for 2 or 3 weeks. Try basketball for 2 or 3 weeks. And after that 2 or 3 weeks, now you have some insight. You can say, I didn't really like tennis, but I really like basketball. Maybe let me try some more of that. So set a short-term, action-oriented goal that helps you to gain insight, or it helps you to make impact towards your goal. When you act, you just act. One way of trying not to overcomplicate it and overthink is just to ask yourself a simple question. What is the most important task I can do today? Once you've answered that question, do it. Don't plan obsessively. Lastly, I want you to notice what happened. Was it good? Was it bad? Did I gain insight? Did I make a lot of progress? Was that good progress? Was that bad progress? Now, you've made some progress because you took some action. Now you can reflect and figure out what your next step is. And then you set another short-term action-oriented goal. Short-term action-oriented goals are the cure for the perfect planners because they get you actually doing something, and acting gives you so much more information. It gives you so much more insight, and it gives you so much more drive because you're actually making progress for once. If there's anything you take away from this video, it is this idea: act as soon as you possibly can. If you found this helpful, then please like, subscribe, and I will be making more content like this. If you found this really helpful and you want more practical, action-oriented stuff that you can do, check out my course on the Skool platform. It's a step-by-step framework to get you doing this. It is basically a course about getting you to take action. It's called Systems for Taking Action, and we design a personal system for you that actually gets you taking action. We do it by identifying what holds you back, what you personally struggle with, and designing a system with interventions designed to tackle those exact problems in a step-by-step way. All right, I will see you in the next video. Take care.